This week I thought I'd do a different vlog on my favourite books. As I've mentioned previously in other videos, I am writing my own novel at the moment. And so I'd been watching other people's vlogs, book lovers, etc. And I found it really interesting, like getting their take on what their favourite books were. I suppose it's very similar to having like a discussion about what your favourite film is. One of my favourite films is Fifth Element. Gotta love Fifth Element. And as with anything, anyone's favourite song, film, book, it's their personal choice, their opinion. So my favourite type of book reading is sci-fi fantasy. I love it. I barely read anything else actually. I have delved into, so I've read Darren Brown. So I forgot that one. Da Vinci Code, should have just gone with that. So I have read that, and I've read a couple of other Philippa Gregory books, but my main love is sci-fi fantasy, and that's pretty much what my novel is as well. So for those of you that don't read much or haven't delved into sci-fi fantasy, there's like different like versions or genres, should I say. So you've got your urban fantasy, so that's like where the magic or the paranormal is set in the present day world, but most of the world doesn't know about it. So if you think on the lines of like Harry Potter, Twilight, that kind of thing. Then you've got your high fantasy. These are books where the world isn't like ours. It's a completely fantastical world. So if you think of the lines of from the books of like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, where it's based entirely in a different world, different laws apply to that world. So yeah, that's what high fantasy is. And you have, I was watching a YouTuber actually, and she referred to it as like epic fantasy, which is for like the die-hard fantasy fans, where everything is just like really magical and etc. I tend to read a lot more along the urban fantasy, and my book is more towards the urban fantasy. So I've got a few books that are my favourite, but I decided to pick out three. Most of them are actually a series of books, so not just like a one-off read. And they're not small series either. Sorry. So my fave to read is, it is urban fantasy. I'd probably call it like urban paranormal fantasy. So it's the Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I don't actually have it in physical form, because it's on my ebook reader. So I'll put a little thing up in just 2 seconds. Ebook readers. You know, I've always wanted to have like my own like bookshelf, and then when I ran out of space I just started buying ebooks. It's not as much fun having a virtual library. Anyway, back to the topic. The Lux series. I absolutely love this. It's a young, well, I think it falls into the young adult, but some of it isn't so much so. So without giving like too much away, it's basically based on Katie. She moves to this bum western town in Virginia. There's like literally nothing going on, and her neighbours, Dee and Demon, seem a little strange. And I think the book is 5 books long. 5 books long. So it is quite a read. But I absolutely love it. I love the characters. You really get attached to like the Katie character, and for all the girls who love a good swoon over a man in a book, Damon. It depends on how you want to say it. In the audiobooks they say demon, but I'm pretty certain like we'd probably in the UK just call him Damon. But yeah, he's literally like to die for. I suppose like on similar terms, if you like Twilight, it's a little bit like that with out the vampires. There are no vampires in this. No vampires, no werewolves, no magicians, nothing like that. It's something different, and that's why I liked it, because it was a little bit different from all the other stuff that I'd read before. There was also rumour that they were going to turn it into a film. Cast me, cast me, cast me, cast me. So my other favourite book that I've just picked up to start reading again, because it had been in a box in the shed for like 8 years. So yeah, and when I got everything out and I redecorated in here and put my bookshelf in, I was like, oh, I haven't read those in ages. So yeah, it's this is by James Clemens. It's called Witchfire. So this is the first one, and there's again 5 in the series. They're quite chunky as well. In fact, actually, this is a smaller one. The bigger ones are like that. Yeah. So they're not like short reads. But the reason why, and these are more your higher epic fantasy. Comes with like little maps in here and everything. But the reason why I like these so much is because it tells the story throughout all the books from different people's perspectives. So there's so many characters it tells the story from, which I really like, and it interweaves each of their individual stories rather than telling it from one person's perspective and you find out through the other characters' like stories. I really, really like this. It's a bit too epic to give like a synopsis on it. There's basically that magic has supposed to have left the land due to this dark character that came in centuries before. But magic is slowly creeping back into the land, and it's all based around the character Elena, however, wherever you come from, however you want to pronounce it. I call her Elena, but Elena. But yeah, so if you like your epic fantasies, then give that one a read. The next books I really love. It's actually only 3 now. I am getting less and less as it goes along. So this is Trudi Canavan. If you can see. So the first one is The Magician's Guild, followed by The Novice, followed by The High Lord. I love these. I've read these tons of times. Again, these are kind of like high fantasy, but they're not too difficult to read. Like there's not too many elements, like some fantasy books that you read, there's like so many elements that you're just like, what is going on? This is solely based around magic. So again, no vampires, no werewolves, which is surprising because I love vampires and werewolves. I love everything vampire and werewolves. And I haven't actually mentioned one book in my top 3 favourite books that involve vampires and werewolves. Anywho, so yeah, I really like this. It's based around Sonia, and her life, and she starts out from on the streets as a pauper, and then it turns out that she also has magical abilities. So then she's brought to the Magician's Guild, who basically rule all, and it's her journey through there, and all the dark magic that appears to be there but isn't. It's got some really nice little twists in it. So those are my top 3 series. I don't think I have standalone books. I don't think I have a standalone book that I really like, and all of those, they're not standalone books. So yeah, whilst writing my book, I really had to think about, you know, what draws me in and what excites me about a book. And that's why I decided to do this, and watch what other people like, because it's interesting to see how people like to read. It's a similar film. Like some people like certain types of film, not just genres, but just certain way a film is shot. Some people like to read a book a certain way that it reads and it flows off the page. For me, I'm not a massive fan of books that take 2 pages to describe a tree. I'm like, get on with it. Like, the action has to flow for me quite quickly. And it's not necessarily that it has to be action, 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 action all the time. But just there needs to be something, a story constantly going to keep it flowing. So it's something that I have to bear in mind whilst I'm writing my book. I'm actually on chapter 13. At the moment, I'm just carry on writing. I just think when I have to like go back and reread it, I'll be like, what does that mean? Yeah, I'd love to know what your favourite books are. Ping a comment on the bottom. Let me know, because it's great to share these things. And I hope you all like this video. Maybe you'll try the books if you have enough time to read like a 5 series book. I will try and think of like a one-off book. Bye.